Have you ever wondered why some people seem to be able to accomplish so much in 24 hours, while most of us struggle to keep yet alone reach our goals? That's why in this video, I would love to talk about the 12-week year book by Brian P. Morgan and Michael Lennington, where the authors showcase a new strategy that is able to help you achieve your goals and do more in 12 weeks than most people do in 12 months. Hi, my name is Estefania. I am a senior product designer, digital nomad, and coach. And yeah, welcome to this video. Before we even jump into the strategies on how to achieve the goals, we need to study as to what is it really that is preventing us in the first place to reach said goals. According to the authors, the biggest impediment that is preventing us from achieving our vision is a lack of execution. Many people seem to believe that really is a lack of knowledge on how to achieve whatever goal they have. But according to the authors, the real culprit is not knowledge, but the lack of taking action or how we're not taking perhaps the right action. The authors refer to this as the execution gap, which is the gap basically between knowing and doing what you know you need to do, right? There is a huge difference there. So now we're going to take a look at what strategies you can take in order to close this gap. The first thing you need to do is to discard analyzed thinking. According to the book, most people don't like ideas, but they fail, again, as we mentioned before, in executing them, partly because they set year goals. The book, the authors refer as analyzed thinking as an unspoken belief that there is plenty of time in the year to make things happen. And the problem with this type of thinking, according to the authors, is that it doesn't create a sense of urgency, meaning people set goals for the year, people's organizations, etc. But as the year goes by, they get disorganized, unfocused, discouraged, unmotivated, and so on. That is to say, a year, according to the book, it's way too long of a time to effectively set a goal and achieve it. So what to use instead of analyzed thinking? The authors have proposed a concept called periodization. Periodization is actually a term used in sports, and just quoting for the book, it's a focused training regimen that concentrates on one skill at a time for a limited time period, usually for 4 to 6 weeks. After the end of each 4 to 6 weeks, the athlete moves to the next sequence. In this way, capacity in each skill is maximized. So what does this mean? Instead of having a 12-month year, the authors propose here to shorten your goals to a 12-week period by using periodization and focusing in just really tackling one goal, one skill set, if you will, per week at a time to make sure your skill is maximized. The idea of creating this shorter year, if you will, by creating a periodization period of 12 weeks is to keep you focused, energized, and with the goal always in sight so that it's easy to accomplish and you are less likely to, give up along the way. Number 2, create a compelling vision. Every time we try to set a big goal in our lives or create, therefore, big changes, we go through what, as psychologists Don Kelly and Darren Connor refer to as the emotional cycle of changes. This emotional cycle of changes, or ECHO, it's characterized by 5 stages. The first one being uninformed optimism. This stage is often exciting and fun, and we're fully motivated. It's usually when we first set up our goal and we just have this new high of wanting to change our life. Everything is easy because we haven't really started and everything is really fun. Again, we're in this optimistic state. Unfortunately, as you guessed, this state doesn't last long. Then, after the uninformed optimism, we move to the informed pessimism, meaning we're starting to realize the amount of effort this change is going to take. And therefore, we start to question ourselves. We start to perhaps not perceive really the reward versus the cost. In short, we're starting getting kind of unmotivated, doubtful, and really questioning, is this goal even worth it? The next step is the lowest of the graph, and it's called the Valley of Despair. And the name suits this stage because it is the worst part of the journey. It is when we're in absolutely rock bottom and we start to believe we're never going to reach our goals. This is also the stage where most people give up. And this is why it is super, super essential that you have a compelling vision that you're emotionally attached to, along with the system that we're going to talk about in a bit, so that you can go through this valley of despair. Because again, you will go through it. And the key at this point is to don't stop. Don't stop. Keep going, because if you keep going, eventually you will see the rewards of your work. To quote the book, it says, vision is the starting point of all high performance. And why is that? Because vision is the first step. Before you set your goals, before you set your tactics and mark your calendar, before you do all that, the first thing you need to do is to have a clear, compelling vision that you're emotionally connected to, that you care about. This is key and essential in order to be able to get through the valley of despair. Because at the end of the day, goals are a means to an end. And if we're talking about an individual and we're talking about your business, for example, a business is also a means to an end. It should be at least a means to an end to kind of fulfill this vision that you have for yourself and for your life. Once you have a vision that you're emotionally connected to, the next step is to make a plan and establish critical tactics to stick to your plan and get to your goals. Now is the time when you want to set 1 to 3 goals to tackle during the 12-week period. I wouldn't recommend any more goals than 3. That is a lot to accomplish in a 12-week period. The next step after you set up your 1 to 3 top goals is to create critical tactics, which are basically the core activities that will drive your process forward. These tactics need to be specific, actionable, and have a due date. If these tactics include a group of people, like an organization, for example, they should also be assigned to a specific person. So let's talk about an example. Let's create a goal. So for example, in these 12 weeks, I would like to lose 10 pounds. Okay. So that would be my goal. By the end of these 12 weeks, I want to lose 10 pounds. So in order to accomplish that goal, I would need to establish a critical tactic. In this case, it can be something like limit my calorie intake to 1200 calories per day, or record calories each day. Okay, it can also be do 20-minute cardio 3 times a week. As you can see, my tactics are very specific, they're time bound, and they're actionable. The key here of establishing critical tactics is that these are supposed to be the daily actions that drive our progress and lead us to success. After all, long-term success is nothing else but the sum of our daily actions. The next step, number 4, is measure your execution and keep a weekly scoreboard. As the saying goes, what you don't measure, you don't know. So it's really important to track our progress in the right way to make sure we get to our goal. Measuring can help us keep track of the important information and confront us to reality to see if our actions are aligned with the goal and are producing the right fruit And if not, we can take accountability and make decisions. The author puts it this way: measurement drives the execution process, it is the anchor to reality. In order for measurement to be effective, it needs to include two things. The first one is lag indicators, and the second one is lead indicators. The lag indicators indicate the end result. If we keep along with the previous example that I gave, in this case, it would be losing the 10 pounds. But it can also be things such as income, body fat weight, clients acquired, etc., etc. On the other hand, the lead indicators are the activities that produce the results or our execution. In the 12-week year program, the authors encourage you not to measure so much the lag indicators, such as the result, because we have control over our actions. However, we don't always have control over the results. So we need to focus in what we can control. But remembering that at the same time, our actions drive our results. So if we focus in our actions, it is more likely that we will get the results that we want, or we get pretty close to it. But if we go from the previous example, instead of focusing on how many pounds I lose every week or what so, although that might be also a good indicator to see if I'm on the right track or not, I really want to put focus on measuring every day if I'm recording my calories, if I'm limiting my calorie intake, if I'm going to the fitness class, and so on. In order to measure these lead indicators, you want to use a weekly scoreboard. In this weekly scoreboard, you would put your 1 to 3 top goals, and then underneath each goal, you would put all your critical tactics. The idea is that every day you make sure you accomplish all these activities as much as possible. And at the end of the 12-week period, you will assess what is the percentage that you have completed from these activities. According to the book, if you completed around 85% of all the activities that you set out to do, that actually means that you are in the range of excellence. That we should not strive for perfection, which there is no such thing in regular life and interruptions coming along, but instead we should strive for excellence. So let's do a quick recap of what we have done so far. As you can see, we have a trend of coming from bigger picture to smaller details. So we have established our vision, selected our 1 to 3 top goals, and created critical tactics to be done each day. So the next step, in order to be able to execute a high level these tactics, is to manage your time with intention. Managing your time with intention doesn't mean that we need to schedule our calendar to the T, but it means that we need to be very mindful as to how we spend our time, given that many of us, if not most of us, have the tendency to be a bit reactive and kind of like let the current take us wherever it will. To quote the book, it says, the reality is that if you're not purposeful about how you spend your time, then you leave your results to chance. And I couldn't agree more with that. In order to combat this reactive tendency, the authors have proposed what is called time blocking. I actually know of time blocking for a while. I know it before this book, and it's one of my favorite strategies to kind of like organize my day because it is detailed enough that it lets me know exactly how I'm going to spend my day in a productive way. At the same time, it's not so detailed that I feel prisoner of, my task. Like say sometimes with a to-do list, you really have to get in there and it's kind of fun to go like this. But at the same time, it can be very overwhelming if you have like 50 to-do items, for example. So let's take a look at how the 12-week program defines time blocking. According to the authors, interruptions are part of life. And when we try to erase interruptions altogether, it kind of backfires on us because, again, they're part of life. That's just how life is. It can get messy sometimes. So we need a system that is able to adapt to that. So instead of kind of like avoid interruptions at all costs, this program has divided time blocking into three specific categories, which are a strategy block, buffer blocks, and breakout blocks. Strategy blocks are meant to be uninterrupted time of complete and utter focus. According to the book, most people only need around 3 hours a week of strategic blocks. And even so, according to the book, it is amazing to see how much you can accomplish by just 3 hours of completely and total focus on a specific critical task. Then you have the buffer blocks, which is where you incorporate the low value activities such as answering emails or other activities that are not as critical but yet need to kind of get done. The power of this block is that you kind of want to group all of these activities like answering emails, making appointments, things of the sort in one block so you can get them as much as possible done at the same time. And last but not least, we have breakout blocks. And these ones are a free out of jail card, basically free time away from your job, away from your business, away from your responsibilities, not all your responsibilities, mind you, but you know what I mean. Basically, it's a time for you to disconnect and relax because the truth is, especially if you're watching this type of video, I can guess that you are someone who is high achiever, highly intelligent, and wants to probably get ahead, right? So we probably have this tendency to get burned out, right? So breakout blocks are meant for you to distress and disconnect because paradoxically, if you are well rested, who would have thought, and you feel good about yourself and you're not stressed out, then you get to produce better work and just be more focused when you need to. All the tactics that we review are amazing and highly effective, but of course, they will amount to nothing without accountability and commitment. However, in the book, the authors point out that accountability is a concept that is often misunderstood. We often associate accountability with punishment and bad consequences. But the authors argue that accountability is really about ownership because it is about the freedom of choices and how we choose to commit to our goal, basically. So, accountability is ultimately self accountability. Instead of thinking or framing accountability as bad or bad consequences, think about it as your own responsibility and your own ownership. You get to do as opposed that you have to do. Those two produce very two different types of energies and therefore very two different types of results. With accountability and commitment comes the greatness of moments. This is one of the concepts that I love the most about this book because here the authors speak how greatness is not a result, right? For example, like an Olympian winning a gold medal, but greatness, that result is actually evidence of the fact that you were already in your greatness. So they define greatness as the moment where you decide to be accountable for yourself and commit to the goals and the daily actions that are going to change your life. Basically, the moment that you decide that you're going to do what you know you need to be doing. Finally, to recap, we established that the main problem that don't allow people to achieve their goals is the lack of execution, otherwise known as the execution gap. We also established in order that to be able to achieve our goals and execute in high performance level, we have to create a compelling vision, make a plan using critical tactics, measure our execution, have accountability, commitment, which it will result in greatness in the moment. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please leave your comments below if you have heard about this book before or if you have used the 12-week program. I myself am planning to put the 12-week program to the test. As you can see, I have studied it thoroughly and I will be creating my YouTube channel strategy based on this book. So I will definitely upload that video soon. If I have already uploaded, I probably will link it somewhere here. So again, thanks for watching. And if you enjoy it, feel free to like and subscribe. And I'll see you in another video. Bye.